Anderson and Guerrero mentioned in the Handbook of Communication and Emotion, emotions permit individuals to adapt successfully to a vast array of social demands and opportunities. We communicate whether we like it or not. It is impossible not to communicate, and emotions play an important role on how we do so. Sometimes it may not be deliberate, but our emotions are visible through physical expression, gestures, tone, etc. We need to learn how to manage emotions in order not to only have a better personal development and performance, but to be successful communicators. Emotions are not only a state of mind, thoughts, or feelings. They don't express themselves only through our psyche. Emotions can manifest through tone, volume, gestures, or facial expressions. We can have a good idea of how someone is feeling just by doing a quick scan of their expressions. For instance, when we are trying to be polite and ask someone, "Hey, how's it going?" we may realize they're not in the best moment if they shrug and tell you, it could be worse. The gestures, tone, and facial expressions, and even word choice make it noticeable. Now, let's say we ourselves are understanding and empathic people, and it wouldn't bother us if someone came off as being tired or angry or sad when engaging in a conversation. But that is not going to be the case for everyone or a given context. Let's say in a job interview, you come off as someone who can lose their temper quickly or is not motivated enough for the job. That will be a huge problem because the employer doesn't know you personally, or if you're going through a tough time in your life, and if who you are presenting yourself as is truly who you are. This is why it is important to know how to manage our emotions. If we learn how to do it from the inside, that is our psyche, eventually it will also have an effect on how we communicate from the outside, that is our words, corporal language. There are several strategies to manage emotions. Lostnod mentions that there are four main strategies. First one is acceptance, then reappraisal, suppression, and distraction. Acceptance is basically, like the word it says, to accept our emotions and a situation that we are going through. Reappraisal is to take a new perspective of a situation or look through it through a new light. There's also suppression, which is the opposite of acceptance, but it's also a strategy that people use, which will be putting in a box your emotions or bad situations and not letting them escape. There's also distraction, which is similar to acceptance but in smaller steps. It could involve more people or you can do it yourself, and it's basically doing other activities or using humor, for instance, to shift your perspective or your attentions to something else that is more pleasant. Research has proven that many people like to use this approach. Butterfield's research mentions the use of humor during grief to shift your attentions can be a great way to cope. There's also group therapy and accepting other people's help, and in general it's just accepting help from others and allowing vulnerability for the most part, as Messina mentions in her research. Another great strategy is asking yourself, what is my emotion trying to tell me? For instance, let's take anger. What is my anger trying to tell me? It could be maybe I'm stressed or maybe I'm tired. Or let's take sadness now. What is my sadness trying to tell me? That could be that I'm tired or that I need to rest. Furthermore, emotion management can significantly increase the quality of communication and relationships, be it at work, school, with family, in your love life, when participating in discussions or disputes, you name it. Emotions are an inherent part of our life, so we must learn how to deal with them in order to be successful communicators. With that being said, how we express emotions can either enrich or downgrade relationships. Relationships can be enriched by allowing vulnerability. Sometimes we forget people have feelings and hardships, which can explain certain negative behaviors. But there's something important here. The behavior is not excused, but it can be explained. Allowing ourselves or others to be vulnerable can allow positive change in communication. As Nina Naver mentions in Vulnerability and Trust in Leader-Follower Relationships, higher feelings of vulnerability on the side of the follower increase the importance of the perceiver's leader's trustworthiness. This can apply to many types of relationships, but for instance, in romantic relationships, vulnerability can allow trust between the parties involved and enhance better communication for future disagreements or problems. Another way of enriching relationships is the use of emotional intelligence. Salovey and Mayer describe emotional intelligence, or EQ, as the ability to monitor one's own and others' feelings and emotions, to discriminate among them, and to use this information to guide one's thinking and actions. Using emotional intelligence is basically acknowledging others' feelings as well as ours. By being empathic, we leave room to have more personal relationships rather than superficial ones. For example, when doing teamwork, it is important to have everyone feel welcome and give them a space to show their ideas. Even if they may not seem like the best, it is important to let everyone be seen. Another example is when you're mad at someone, say from your family, but when you get to a friend's gathering, you show a positive attitude because the problem is not with them, it's with someone else, it's with your family. In this case, emotional intelligence doesn't mean to suppress feelings to make others feel comfortable, but rather taking in consideration that there are people that are separate from how you feel towards someone in particular. Not being aware of our emotions or deciding to ignore them can lead to others having to live with the consequences of our actions, misinterpretation of messages, and basically having ineffective communication.